Hey folks, I want to talk about autism and what it is and what it isn't, especially in light of what Robert F. Kennedy, RFK Jr. is saying and doing here in the United States. I know a lot of you who follow me are here in the US and a lot of you are not, and you may be hearing about this and just wondering what in the world's going on and what's happening. This is not a political video, but it's an important video, and I hope you'll stick around and listen. If you don't know me, I'm Jodi Carlton, and I'm a neurodiversity expert. Specifically, I work with adults in relationships, domestic partnerships, but also other types of relationships, siblings, parents. So RFK Jr. and the administration here in the U.S. is basically taking the position, or their understanding of autism is that it is a childhood disease, which it is not. And I don't know where they're getting their information or what their agenda is, and I'm not here to, again, have a political conversation, but I want to emphasize that our research, like scientific research to date, is very clear that autism, neurodiversity in general, which includes ADHD and dyslexia and dysgraphia and sensory processing differences, is very rooted in genetics, in heredity. It's not a disease. It's not something we catch or that we acquire in childhood, and it's not something we grow out of. So this is a lifelong thing. Now, as we grow up and develop and our brains acquire skills and abilities and tools and strategies, something like autism is going to look really different in adulthood than it will look in childhood. So an autistic adult is going to present differently than an autistic child. And let's talk about levels and labels, because it does matter, because the language we use to talk about autism and what it is important. It matters. Some people are really bothered by labels, but sometimes we need to use them as a framework for having a conversation around what we mean. So when referencing autism here in the US, we use the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, to diagnose. And level 1 autism refers to people who have lower support needs. So in other words, individuals who will likely finish high school, possibly go to college. A lot of my clients have not only been to college, but have multiple degrees, may be very successful in careers. Some of them are actually top of their field in their careers. Date, get married, have families. But they're still autistic, and they still have challenges and struggles with executive functions and emotional processing and language processing. And when I say struggle, sometimes the struggle is being different from the neurotypicals of the world, and those differences being invisible. Nobody knows that they're there. And so in a world that's geared to be more neurotypical, because just by averages alone, more people are neurotypical than are neurodivergent, the foundations of communication and emotional, just the way we interact in the world, is more neurotypical. But then we have level 2 and level 3 autism, which, again, as we go into different levels, we're looking at different levels of support needs. How much does someone need to be directly supported by other caregivers, or even directly supported financially through funding, Medicaid, insurance supports, those types of things. And level 2 individuals oftentimes can live independently and maybe have a job, maybe finish high school, but are still going to need some supports from family members or other types of programs that support them. And level 3 individuals are going to need supports, direct caregiver supports for their lives, for a lifetime. All of these people are autistic, but they have very different levels of need for support. This is something that we see in multiple generations. I know just in my own family, we see that there is autism. Some of it has been undiagnosed, but now that we know what we're looking for, it's clearly there. My daughter is diagnosed autistic. I'm ADHD. My son's ADHD. Their dad is autistic. He's undiagnosed, but it's just that all the traits are there. I see it in his extended family. My mother, we've realized now, is autistic. Her mother, other family members. This is a multi-generational hereditary thing, and it's not a childhood disease. This is just a natural variation of the human population. What RFK is doing, his approach is to try to find a cause for autism in order to seek a cure. And that's just problematic because the cause is genetics. Now, sometimes there are things that can make the traits and the difficulties, the challenges of autism worse. For example, my daughter got a virus from me in utero when I was pregnant with her that is also associated with some developmental delays early in infancy, which she did have. At the time, we didn't know she had this autistic genetic history because I didn't know anything about this yet. But we know that her autistic challenges were likely worsened developmentally because her brain was already a neurodivergent brain, and then she got this virus while she was still a fetus that likely contributed to some greater difficulties. And we were so grateful to have services for her, occupational therapy and physical therapy and speech therapy to help her brain in those developmental years. And I am emphatic that those types of therapies are so important for autistic children, dyslexic children, ADHD children, to help with the way the brain's processing the world. So we definitely need to understand all this more. We need to understand what's impacting the developing brain, what's impacting autistic brains. But there's not a cure for a genetic variation in the human race. And I also want to say, I want to really emphasize that there are families who are experiencing extreme devastation. A lot of people are saying, my autistic child has not destroyed my family, and that's true. But I also have a friend who has a daughter who has severe, profound autism level 3, and it has been a very devastating thing for her daughter, who's a young adult now, and in a residential facility, which has been extremely difficult for my friend to find, and had to leave the state that we're in. And it's been so hard. She's nonverbal, which means that she never acquired language other than a few words. And she gets physically aggressive and violent at times when she's just completely overloaded and doesn't know how to communicate her needs. And it's been so hard. And we do need to understand if there are things that are contributing to these types of challenges being worse for some people, some families. Are there environmental factors in our foods? As far as vaccines go, vaccines have been researched and researched and researched. And there is no direct link to vaccines causing autism, because autism, again, is hereditary. Now, I do know that there are families who have seen their children change after a vaccine. I say that with I'm very guarded in even saying that out loud on the internet, because I want to emphasize vaccines do not cause autism. My daughter got a virus, and it likely caused some challenges for her developing brain. Depending on what's going on for another child's brain and development when they get a vaccine, it's possible that a vaccine might affect the development of a child whose brain is particularly susceptible at the moment that they received it. So we do need to say that out loud and look at it. But it's extremely dangerous to imply or believe or promote the idea that vaccines cause autism, because they don't. They absolutely don't. But I don't want to dismiss the families who have experienced some challenges from reactions to vaccines. I mean, we just saw during COVID that some people reacted really differently to vaccines than others. It's just a thing. our bodies react differently to things. So all of that to say, autism is a spectrum. Autism is hereditary. Autism is a natural variation of the human race. And our world, we wouldn't be where we are without autistic individuals. Our technology, some of the greatest advancements in science and technology have been because of autistic individuals. We now know Einstein was autistic. There was no diagnosis back then, but all the traits are there. Some of our great artists of all time were likely autistic. Beethoven, Van Gogh, Silicon Valley, the IT capital of the world. The rates of autism being diagnosed in children are so high there. It's because all their parents are autistic. And they're having babies, autistic babies. So this is not a disease of childhood. It's not a disease at all. But do we need to understand it better, and do we need more research? Yeah, we do. We need to understand more about what kinds of things impact the autistic brain that could make things harder and worse. But we definitely don't need to look at it as something we need to be curing, because that's impossible. And that's putting the focus in the wrong place. We can't cure autism. So I hope this has helped clarify things for you if you've had questions, and let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for listening.